Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies both new and old with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid lazy negativity, we decided to make this episode a little bit of a drinking game. So anytime you hear us saying anything negative at all about this film, about each other, about how if Dave was in Shanghai in 1941, Christian Bale would have been bought, you're going to hear this sound.
I didn't even get that.
That sound means we're taking a drink, and we hope you drink along with us.
So, pour yourself a glass as we watch Batman's balls drop.
Cheers, guys. It is hilarious. It is kind of funny. They jumped 4 years in advance. He went from 11 and they jumped 4 years in advance, and he was still a soprano boy choir, which means he was definitely a castrati. All right, people, this is the Love of Cinema podcast.
Yeah, I knew you were going to talk about
just
that.
Just saying, does anyone want to get that clip of him singing and put the rant from the Terminator's recording over the top of it?
When we saw the Terminator series?
Did you? Is that
what you wanted to do?
Situation? Are you ready to rock?
Santa.
No. I really, really wish I had done it though. Now that I think about it.
All right, friends. Well, if you're new to the show, we love a cinema. We drink beer and talk about movies and try to keep it positive. We are going to be talking about Empire of the Sun today because the random year generator spun 1987, which we recently did when we talked about big-time Oscar winner from that year, The Last Emperor, Bertolucci. Yeah. So how funny is it that we did
what
two...
the fuck?
Yeah. Our 1987 movies that we did are both set in Asia and about, imperialism and war and early 1900s. Yeah, very, 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 very similar. And that's what we decided. I mean, I guess it becomes an international conflict, but that's what it's set.
Fucking China, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess they were pretty close. I'll just myself.
They were literally both in fucking China.
Hey, China's a fucking huge country. Shut up.
Is there a fucking crossover in that timeline? How old was the last emperor?
Oh yeah, Puyi. He I think by the
20s,
end,
right? Wasn't he born in the? Because they lived through the. I think he was like in his 30s or when this was happening, if I remember that timeline correctly. Anyway, weird.
It went through that anyway. So we're gonna set up the context of the year. What happened in 1987? Again, we've already talked about this year a little bit, so we're gonna keep it snappy today. If you want to hear more about 1987 and hear us drink beer and talk about this year, go back and listen to our Bertolucci episode from not too long ago. So you shouldn't have to go through the feed too much. Also, I don't know what you guys did today, but I woke up today. I'm a big Formula One fan, so I watched the Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai, and then I immediately turned this movie on to watch. This movie, which is set in Shanghai. I won't say that, but I will say the race today was won by an Australian, Dave, who is 1/16th Chinese. There you go. Who beat two Brits a week after a Brit won the Australian Grand Prix, and in 2 weeks is the Japanese Grand Prix in Suzuka. So, I mean, this movie was the perfect movie for us to choose. We are clairvoyant here. How about that?
Yeah, don't you say Grand Prix. Like a fucking D-bag.
Everybody's getting it.
All right. So anyway, if you want to get to the conversation where we just talk about Empire of the Sun, it's not our first Spielberg. We did talk about 1941. I will say it was debaucherous. We did 3 movies that week, and it was our 3rd movie. We'd been drinking for an hour and a half.
Oh my God.
Was a mess. We talked about 1941. We also talked about Close Encounters, which was very, 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 very big hit. And then in our summer blockbuster face-off, where we pitted off the #1 summer blockbuster movies of every single year against each other, you can imagine there were a bunch of Spielbergs in there. So Jaws did very, very, very well. Raiders of the Lost Ark did not do very well. E.T. did okay, and then Jurassic Park went about as far as you could go. So if you want to hear us talk about some other Spielbergs, but we're happy to go. We don't do too many Spielbergs considering how influential he is.
Don't forget about West Side Story and Fablemans. You've done episodes on both those too.
This is why we love having you on the show here.
Yeah, we should probably mention.
We haven't done
sorry, mysterious voice we haven't introduced yet.
I forgot about new movies that we talked about.
Episode number.
Oh my gosh! Thank you. Welcome back to the show.
How many worst episode evers do you think we have?
Oh my God! So good to have you, our music sponsor, our musician in residence, as John calls it, and Dave says, "What residence?" And that's our joke. Dasein!
Well, they're
welcome back to the show.
I mean, they're in one of those like supernatural hotel rooms at the moment.
Yes, if you do check out our YouTube, you'll see them in the same hotel room. And Brandon's arm looks like it's right around John's shoulder. And I hope it stays like apartment.
That the
It looks like a budding murder scene.
Sure. Sure.
That's so good. It's so good to have you back on the show.
So good to be back. Thanks.
John, introduce our sponsors here, then you guys, get us chatting.
Sure.
Here.
We have this guy, Artist in Residence, Dasein, available on all the usual music platforms. DASEIN. You can find the music there. It's in the show notes too. If you need a link to follow, if you're a little slow and you just want to touch one single button, Dave will just shoot you right over to all those usual music platforms. It's on our link tree. We also have a beer sponsor who is not with us today inside one of the frames in New York, but he is in our hearts. His name is Carlos Barrozo. His handle is cbarrozo.beer. You can find that in the show notes as well. He's on Instagram, cbarrozo.beer. Go over there at, cbarrozo.beer on Instagram. Go over there and give him some likes and some loves on the beer making shit. Carlos,
hell yeah,
send me a beer.
All right.
It's not going to happen.
I'm drinking one of these like big Guinness bottles that he would bottle sometimes in things similar to this, and it is a little.
It does
nostalgic.
look like a Carlos bottle. Yeah.
Carlos.
Do you remember that time I drank a Foster's on the show?
Did you? Actually, I don't.
Yeah, I do. I got hate mail.
Dave for
oh
Christian
my
Bale
gosh,
would have been bought.
guys. So go anyway. Check the show notes or scoot ahead in the chapters if you want to get to our Empire Sun conversation. And also to keep us chatting today because we have one mini review which Dave's going to do in a second. But I have a couple Spielberg centric like little questions for you guys. Because Spielberg potentially won the '80s. So in my setup of what was going on in 1987, I'm also going to ask you guys maybe questions like what's your favorite Spielberg, or can you name all 7 movies that he directed between 1980 and 1989? So something to let's just see, or who won the '80s, John Hughes or Steven Spielberg? And don't say John Carpenter. Don't you do it. So, maybe we'll ask like little fun questions like that to keep us chatting here. But Dave, you got the mini review, so why don't we get right into it? Give the people some content. What do you say?
Oh, yeah, okay, sure.
All right.
Well, I went to the Times Square AMC and saw Mickey 17.
That's where you decided to go?
Was it another good experience?
It really was.
All right.
It really was.
AMC,
everything down to the snack bar was on point, man. They've really, it's now like Times Square would, if they didn't have, if like Lincoln Center didn't have the big ass fucking IMAX screen, Times Square would be winning as my theater of choice. And I never thought I'd say that in my lifetime.
I don't even know what to say about that.
I love it. I love it. It is cool when you're in there. It's got escalators. All the theaters have names.
And they all work now. Like the escalators all work now too. That's like, they've fixed everything. I don't know whether they're under new management or something. Like, but
for what it's worth, I didn't mind going there when I still lived in New York. It must have turned to dog shit during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah, it did.
I don't remember any that bad.
Everybody's heard the stories. There's a video on our YouTube, if you haven't, that contains a fair portion of the stories of like AMC that we've told. That I rage released when I went and saw Deadpool at Lincoln Center, of all places. Anyway, Mickey 17. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I was really excited about it. I really wanted it to be great. And apparently so did Warner Brothers as well, because they're hinging their fucking future on this and 2 other releases this year. Like, and I enjoyed it. Okay. It's like Robert Pattinson is phenomenal playing 2 roles. Because he's playing against for a lot of the scenes he's playing against himself, and they are 2 very distinct characters that he's playing, and you can tell. And there's a reason they're different from each other. So a lot of people complained that there was a lot of stuff going on. There were too many like side plot lines and stuff like that. I dug it. It kept it rolling. It kept it going. I can see why a lot of America's complaining, because Mark Ruffalo's characterization of the politician that forms his own religion and then launches into space to form a little commune for himself is probably a little close to someone that we have in government at the moment.
Is he in government or an advisor to government?
No, this one's in government.
Okay, motherfucker. Sure.
Well, it's kind of a mashup of both, really. But like, this was done before they even got in. So,
all right. Let me ask you a tricky question. Even though we're a positive film podcast, you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Do you think most people will enjoy it?
Absolutely not.
All right.
I think a lot of people will get, like, it starts off kind of slowish and eases you into the, like, once it starts rolling, it doesn't stop, but it takes a little bit to get there, and I feel like a lot of people are not going to forgive that. And yeah, like a lot of people have said, there's just too much going on.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Do you think it's that? I mean, without being too critical or negative, like, do you think Warner Brothers was justified in pushing it to this strange release date?
I think they hobbled themselves doing that. I don't think Warner Brothers knows what's going on in their house at the moment.
I can agree with that, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesus. I mean, they just pulled all the fucking Looney Tunes off of Max. You can't get Looney Tunes anywhere anymore, and they sold their Looney Tunes. They released a 2D animated Looney Tune movie that's apparently really good, and just dumped it on another distributor. And they didn't even market it or anything. No one knew it came out.
Yeah. What would Eisner do, right? Throw that fucker in the theater and get the box office rolling. Did you guys see that link I sent you this week? Not to jump to news, but about Village Roadshow having to file bankruptcy because they couldn't just settle their dispute with fucking Zaz.
Yeah.
That is not making their company or the industry any better.
Yep, and
all these things.
Right. That's the company that owns like Warner Studios in Australia, Village Roadshow. So I don't know what's happening there. So
I didn't know that. Yeah, no, that's crazy.
That's I think it's just the American branch that's possibly closing down, because if Village Roadshow in Australia shuts down, that's going to put a fuck ton of people out of work.
Dave Rubin used to work for Warner Entertainment.
What happens to titles the Village owned, like The Matrix and stuff? You know, like these
whoever buys it, man. People are predicting that like Warner Brothers will be owned by Disney possibly within 2 years.
Let's take a vote right now. Would you rather Disney buy them or Apple? Who would you rather buy them? If we have to choose between those two fun choices.
Apple's streaming quality is better. Their bandwidth is higher. So I guess
if Disney bought them, that would be too conglomerate.
Too much, yeah.
Like at least Apple is a conglomerate, but they're not necessarily an entertainment conglomerate yet.
Mm. You know? But as I said, as I was saying, Mickey 17 it's original sci-fi. I'm all for original sci-fi, and I think that they did a great job building their world and with all the characters.
And we've talked about Paradise and Memories of Murder on the show. Is it anywhere near those for you?
Paradise?
What did I say?
It's the Grand Prix of his work.
What are you talking
Paradise.
I actually enjoyed this one. I probably enjoyed this the most.
God damn it! Yeah.
Yeah, because it's slightly more commercial film. He still does the class thing. But it's like done with a fucking broadside. So there's no subtlety in it. But yeah, I think I like this one the most.
Awesome. I do want to see the most. I am going to go see
the most. Wait, whoa! I thought you said you kind of enjoyed it. You loved Parasite and Memories of Murder. We were like fucking stunned when we saw that one.
Yeah, we loved Memories of Murder.
Yeah, I did. But this one, I don't know. I don't because it was in my wheelhouse of sci-fi. I leant towards it a little more and responded to it better. But yeah,
right.
Like I said, I really enjoyed this. A lot of people might not. It's it's kind of niche,
right?
Well, nonetheless, you've motivated me to go see it. I was on the fence. I'll go see it now.
Nice.
Yeah, I do want to see it. All right.
Well, hey, this is great. Brandon, you had an interview last time we saw you, but I'm excited to talk to you about The Pit, because Brandon is in the medical industry. You work in the world of medicine.
Show, though.
You haven't watched the show?
Jeff's drug dealer. Yeah.
That's all I want to do. I talked to a male nurse on St. Patrick's Day, and all I wanted to talk to him about was The Pit.
I'm sure he loved that.
Yeah.
It's just waiting for people to talk to him about the authenticity.
I talked about the pediatric drowning, and he goes, "I don't do peds."
Thing on my ass.
Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, his glucose was over 12," and he goes, "She was toast." And I was like, "I know."
Don't you talk about metabolic measurements on this fucking show?
Fucking shit. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, you guys want to do some gripes? What do you guys want to talk about? You two says in there. What have you guys been talking about all week? Yeah, what's been going on?
To complain about on my end. Are you upset about anything?
Give me a second to think about it. Someone else has.
I was really upset about that bankruptcy filing.
All right, we got in there.
All right, that's it. That's my gripe. I already kind of said it. How about you, Jeff?
Okay, hit the gripe timer. 1 minute.
You're off.
Do pet insurance companies actually know that pet is in their title? Like pet is in what they do? I don't think they care about pets at all. And I know insurance companies don't care about anybody, but if you take your pet, in case this gets out there, if you take your fucking pet to the same vet that the rescue went to, any single thing that vet wrote down in their chart is a pre-existing condition. So if your vet says a little bit of a limp in the right leg, the insurance company will not cover either leg for the entire life of the pet. And so you have to go to a different vet and you have to lie and you have to pretend like the vet, like the limp came out of nowhere or whatever. Otherwise, they will fuck you into your asshole so hard, and they literally will never, like ever. They'll make you pay full price for everything. It is the worst. We took the pet for like a January because we got the pet and we wanted to go, and they billed us for the whole thing because they were like, well, the pet was just at this vet like a month ago, and we were like, but we didn't own the pet yet. Like and like these fucking insurance companies are the goddamn worst. We had an insurance company and we had to cancel them. We actually paid for everything out of pocket, and we just paid the insurance company. So we basically just paid them for fun. We just gave them some money.
Glad you specified where you were getting the fucking, because I hate getting a random nose fucking.
Or in the ear. Maybe the eye socket. I just went through all that bullshit too. Anyway, I got.
Did your microphone just drop out?
What just happened to you? What happened to your microphone?
Oh no, did we just drop out? Can you
there you are. Okay, that's better. Okay. Hopefully the people at home didn't notice that I just noticed.
I think what you're saying is we need a voluntary for pet insurance, because that conversation used to be had, and something people take for granted. That used to be a thing.
Yeah.
Pre-existing conditions. Until like 13 years ago. I mean, so for pets, like, just imagine if it was your fucking, right? Yeah. And it's like,
they said,
I mean, I didn't have to deal with pre-existing conditions for the first 40 years of my life.
Oh my God. What, Dave, do you see the Breaking Bad thing where they're like Breaking Bad if it was set in Australia?
Yeah.
And it's Bryan Cranston's character going to the doctor's office and he's like, you have cancer. And he goes, oh no. And he goes, don't worry about it. Come in tomorrow. We'll take care of it. And we'll cover all the bills and prices and you'll be hot by Saturday. And he's like, all right, great. And that's the end of the whole series.
That's really good, dude.
With the Australian accent, it's really great. But yeah, I mean, these people are so fucked that the right leg has a limp, the left leg won't be covered because they think it will favor the left leg, and therefore it's more prone to injury on the other side.
Now you got pre-existing conditions and wear and tear.
Yeah. I mean, we got to the point where we actually we had to wait our fucking 2-week window, which is so dumb. And then we were like, we got to plan our plan of attack. Like, how did she fall? How did she hurt her leg? To the new vet with the new insurance company. Do we lie about where we rescued her from? You know, like, it's like, oh my God.
They're going to separate you in different interrogation rooms. Make sure
you know what they remind me of? I know. They remind me of a street urchin, just like the ones in our movie. That's right. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you so much. That's my gripe. Dave, you got a gripe?
Nope. I have no gripe.
Brandon, anything you want to plug? You want to talk about anything before we get into oh my God, what just happened to my throat?
I think John, I think your microphone turned itself off or something, because you're coming through way different than when we started.
Hopefully the people at home get a nice clean recording and they have no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, it's still going to happen.
1 second.
Almost
there.
Almost.
Use the force.
How does that sound?
Brady, you want to plug anything, or you just want to talk about movies today? What do you think?
That's good.
We'll stick with that. All right?
Yeah.
Hold on. You guys keep talking. I'm going to just pick something.
Okay, I want to talk to Brandon, though, who's in the room. Is he using the same microphone as you?
Yes.
See the house just blow up?
Yeah, what the hell?
I'm just going to call this one.
All right, Dave, you want to talk about anything? Anything you want to get into?
No, I've got I've just got a list of stuff for the end of the show. So let's just skip to the end.
No, fuck. All right.
Okay, well, recording. We're good. We're good.
You're recording. Is it a new recording or is it? It doesn't matter. Fuck it. Anyway,
it doesn't matter. We're good.
Let's keep going.
Good, baby.
I got tomorrow off. Fuck it.
Let's dive into 1987 here. All right, you guys want to get back to 1987?
No, please.
Desperately.
So I
Jeff was born on the evening of, right?
That's right. I was born in this year, and all I knew about this year was that Whitney Houston had the top song, Eddie Murphy had the top movie, the top, yeah, and The Cosby Show is the biggest show. I didn't know that all of the interests of my future cinematic experiences were going to be set in China. I had no idea.
It's a big year for China.
That was going to happen here, the year I was born. By the way, guys, I'm very excited to get into our movie because I don't know if you knew this, but this is a very personal movie to screenwriter Tom Stoppard. So even though it
oh my
isn't...
God.
Did you know that?
Well, I thought you were about to say it's a very personal movie for the author J.G. Ballard.
Is it just based on J.G. Ballard's life?
It's his fucking life, dude. I watched these interviews with him. He's the most British man of all time who actually lived through this, pretending like it didn't ruin it. He kept saying it took me 20 years to forget and 20 years to remember so I could write the damn book.
The most British man alive is an accurate description because that really translates across.
There you go. So tell me why is this so personal for Tom Stoppard?
Do you want to do that now or do you want to wait until we get to the movie?
Wait to get the movie.
Sure, yeah. Keep us on the edge of our seats.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Tom Stoppard is the man for the job, so we'll have to wait for that. All right. 1987. We've done this before, kind of twice. What was the highest grossing movie at the box office? We're going to go with the top 10 at the box office like we always do. What was the highest grossing movie in 1987? Shoot. What do you got?
Adventures in Babysitting.
What Beverly Hills Cop came out that year?
Dave, that was a very good guess. That was very good. So Beverly Hills Cop 2, yeah, so that was the highest grossing summer movie. So that was a summer blockbuster movie, and we really liked it. So I believe this 80, 81, so it was even to odd. The 86 movie, I think this advanced, right? I think Beverly Hills Cop 2 advanced. I can't remember.
Yeah, it did.
Dude, I'm trying to...
I forget what 86 was. Back to the Future was 85. Ghostbusters was 84. Doesn't matter. It won. I'm pretty sure.
Everybody go back and listen.
Yeah, you got to go back and listen.
Are you saying it did win? That is the highest for the whole year or just the summer?
No, Fatal Attraction was the highest movie worldwide this year.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy here? And now they're all within. They're all within 12 million. This is according to the numbers, by the way, because even Box Office Mojo only gave me domestic numbers, and I'm pissed because 87 we had this shit figured out by 87, so I'm pissed that Box Office Mojo did.
And for all the kids that are listening, that movie is where Bunny Boiler came from.
It's true.
We have talked about Fatal Attraction on this show, by the way. Anyway, so. Shut up.
Did we do an episode on it?
Yeah, buzz that motherfucker.
Shut up.
You just get pretty drunk.
Every time John drinks, is Brandon drinking? Is that how this works?
Remember that episode.
I feel like this is like a King's Cup rule where Brandon has to drink whenever John drinks.
Because they're in the same room. If the buzzer goes off, they both have to drink.
You same microphone, same buzzer.
I don't remember that episode.
No. I don't think that was an episode. Okay. Damn it.
Okay.
Come on.
Sorry, Dave. Sorry. Dave, I didn't know you cleared the deck. Anyway, within $12 million, though, we have not yet talked about the highest grossing domestic film from 1987. That's right. It was neither Fatal Attraction or Beverly Hills Cop 2. And I'm not shitting you.
Fatal Attraction was a very domestic film.
With Nail and I
was going to make that joke.
That was good. Dave, good. The highest grossing American or North American movie, fuck everybody, is Three Men and a Baby. Made $167 million, and the domestic box office. Fatal Attraction only won 56 at the domestic box office, and Beverly Hills Cop 2 won 53 at the domestic box office. So Three Men and a Baby, yes, which was the 5th highest grossing movie of this year. Now here's where it gets a little funny. Number 3 on our list is Dirty Dancing, which I was told so many times was not a hit at first, but the song and it just like lingered forever and et cetera. I'm surprised that the worldwide box office is so great. So I feel like if we were to look at the numbers,
it was a smash hit in Australia.
But I feel like it was a smash hit a year later or something. Like I don't feel like it was a smash hit. Yeah, I know. So it's a little confusing, but we'll stick with this. The number 3 highest grossing movie, Dirty Dancing, which would win an Oscar for Best Song. There you go. The Living Daylights comes in at number 4, which did not do very well at the domestic box office.
Isn't that Catherine Bigelow's first?
Yeah. Is it?
Willem Dafoe?
Is it better overseas than here? So to recap, Fatal Attraction, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Dirty Dancing, Living Daylights, Three Men and a Baby. That's your top 5. To round out the top 10, you have Good Morning Vietnam comes in at number 6. You have Lethal Weapon at number 7.
To see that, and then I bought the album of it. because they included the radio bits in the album.
You have Predator at number 8, Moonstruck at number 9, and The Untouchables comes in at number 10. Speaking of Lethal Weapon, I was so bummed that one year there was a blizzard, and we made an enormous meal, John, which you help with, of course. And then we decided, we were like, what are we going to watch? We got a blizzard. We're in here for 48 hours. What are we going to do? We're just going to be debaucherous and drink and do whatever for 48 hours. And we decided to do a Lethal Weapon marathon. Out of all of the marathons we could have done, we did Lethal Weapon.
We got too old for
1 and 4 are the best. I was passing out. I was like, that might have also been the same one that we watched, The Interview, which was, given the state I was in at the time, was one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
I never made it to the end of that movie.
I don't think I made it to the end of the movie, but I was in the room.
Or Big Fast. Do you guys remember, or do you know, because I think we were texting each other about it, Mel Gibson is about to direct 5? The fifth one? Lethal Weapon? Did you know that?
He's not going to do well. Mel's going a little off the rails again. He's saying some stupid stuff. This is the
ambassador of the government of the United States to Hollywood. You didn't know that?
Yeah, I know. I knew. He's one of 3.
Does that mean government spy?
He got his gun, and now he's going to... Remember that woman who got fired? You didn't hear about that?
You get a gun and a badge?
You didn't hear about that?
No.
Did I hear about what? There's so much shit to hear about. Every fucking day I got to hear about something.
But she works in one of the Department of Government, and she basically was reviewing cases, and it wasn't just about gun ownership, but one of the things that came across her desk was Mel Gibson had filed to get his license back to own a weapon, and it got taken away from him when he was charged with domestic assault, and she declined it, and she was fired within hours.
The motherfucker can't get a gun back. He's a recovering alcoholic.
He's an alcoholic with a history of domestic abuse.
Was charged with
the anti-Semitism is not great either, by the way.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, we just threw out about 4 good reasons.
I'm going to go ahead and talk about some other movies here. I'm just going to skip to the awards. The Last Emperor won a whole lot. A couple fun things about this. The Oscars were hosted on April 11th. So for those of you who think that the Oscars are too late now, the Oscars would still be 2 weeks away, at 2.5 weeks away, almost 3 weeks away, if it was on April 11th this year. It was hosted by Chevy Chase. So that's 2 things that didn't age well. And let's see. The Last Emperor went 9 for 9 at the Oscars. It was nominated for 9, won all 9. And for the first time in Oscar history, all 5 Best Director nominees were born outside the United States, which makes John very happy. Best Actor winner Michael Douglas became the second person to win Oscars for both acting and producing, albeit the first person to win the award for 2 separate films in different years. That's right, he won for Wall Street this year for acting, but he previously won a Best Picture award as co-producer of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975, which we have talked about on our show. Vittorio Storaro, one of our favorites, who might be in our Mount Everest, won his 3rd Oscar cinematography. His first 2 were for Apocalypse Now and Red's Casual. Any other Oscars things that I want to shout out? Best Song was pretty fun this year. Time of My Life won, and it beat Cry Freedom. It beat Never Gonna Stop Us Now from Mannequin. That's right.
Nothing's gonna stop us now. Not never.
Shut up.
Didn't say
that was nominated for an Oscar. How good is that? That song's fucking great. Shakedown from Beverly Hills Cop 2 and Storybook Love from Princess Bride came out this year. Other movies that came out this year, Predator, I already said, didn't I? La Bamba, RoboCop, Broadcast News, Full Metal Jacket, Planes, Trains, Automobile, Wall Street, like we said a second ago. No Way Out, really good Family Guy joke about No Way Out. The Princess Bride, which I just said a second ago. So many good stories. Raising Arizona, John's going to say that, so I'm not going to say it before you say it, John. Fuck you, Raising Arizona, which I almost watched on a plane. This week. And I also want to shout out the Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe, where he plays He-Man, and Courtney Cox is in that movie.
I've seen it so many times.
Any other movies you want to shout out from 1987?
Yes, they are making another one.
Did you know they're making a new one? I want to shout out.
And they had the TV series that our friend that we went to college with played the voice of He-Man, but I guess new director Jason, what's his name? Kevin Smith is not going to be directing this movie. Kevin Smith did the animated series. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's call out. Sure. Let's call out Matewan.
You immediately went to an international film. Of course you did.
Sure. No, it's an American independent film.
Then why can't you pronounce it?
John Lasseter made his film debut with The Brave Little Toaster. That I just noticed here. I thought that was cute. Did you guys ever see that? Did you know that the Denzel Washington, Tony Scott movie, Man on Fire, was a remake? Because the original apparently came out this year, starring a white guy. I didn't know that.
I thought it was a sequel to Brave Little Toaster.
We definitely mentioned this last time, Dave, because you and I like his early work, but Peter Jackson made Bad Taste.
I love that thing.
This year, that one's fun.
That thing.
Mention. So inappropriate. So funny. Jaws the Revenge.
That was the first one, wasn't it? Was Bad Taste the first one?
I think that was literally the first one. Yeah,
because it took him like 5 years to make it.
Yeah, all the creature work is like
that movie.
Yeah, it's funny.
Like it took so long to make. The guy who plays the lead leaves the movie and then comes back because he moved out of town and moved back before they finished it.
Like a year later or something ridiculous, right? Like a long time. Harry and the Hendersons, wonderful. I'm good. We can move on.
Brandon, what's your favorite? Brandon, what's your favorite movie from 1987?
It's got to be The Brave Little Toaster.
Oh,
really? No. Is that genuine?
No, I did love that movie growing up.
I mean, who doesn't love a toaster coming out story?
It's fucking Dave.
I'll say, well, it's not my favorite, but one of these might show up in my What You've Been Watching.
Huh? You can say it now if you want to.
No, tease it.
Okay, he's teased it. All right, let's do it.
Oh.
Yeah. Showmanship.
Oh. Showmanship. Okay. So, a couple world events.
We should shout out Evil Dead 2.
Sorry, Dave. Shut up. Yeah, Evil Dead 2 is great.
Yeah.
Sure.
Was it worth it? Stakeout made a lot of money, by the way. We didn't mention Stakeout. That made a lot of money.
Okay. Desire. Good movie. All right, let's do it.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs had a 1987 re-release in honor of Disney's 50th anniversary, which is...
Oh, is that a re-release?
Yeah, they re-released. There was a 1987 re-release of the original in honor of the anniversary. And
they took all the porn frames out and re-released it.
Maybe it was 25. Anyway, I'm saying that now, and I'll put it in the show notes because it's very relevant now because the new one is getting... I feel like people are tearing it to shreds before seeing it.
No. It's the opposite.
Wait.
I don't think so.
Wait. You might be right about the re-release, but there is also what looks like a live-action Snow White that was released this year, and it's rough.
Yeah.
You guys recommend clicking on it.
Yeah, that's in theaters right now. It just came out.
They did both. The 23rd highest grossing film of this year is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs 1987 re-release.
This is just
I
Snow
totally
White.
believe you, but you got
to
check on this whenever you guys get a chance before the episode's over. So
did you send a link or what?
No, it's too early to be the Sigourney Weaver one.
Did you send a link?
Oh my God, the mirror!
Oh, this is fantastic.
Is it like the one Fantastic Four that nobody talks about?
Honestly, it might be. I didn't know this existed. And now it exists, and you're welcome.
If only you guys still did the Redemption. Was it really that bad? Could have watched it.
Wow. That's what 1941 was, a Steven Spielberg movie. Which we're gonna.
Jeff, click on the IMDb.
God!
Look at
Diana
the
Rigg.
headshot. Scroll down.
I thought Diana Rigg was a legend. What the hell?
Is
that Christina Ricci? Who is
I think this is a real movie. I don't think this is
Nicholas
like that show.
Diana Rigg was a legend.
Hey man, it was Disney. I'm sure
Michael
they paid.
Burtz. This is a Disney movie?
Getting in there. It's gotta be. Doesn't it have to be? Snow White.
Do they own Snow White? No, it's not.
No. It was. That was. All of these are in the public domain.
That means this independent production tried to capitalize on the anniversary re-release. They were like, "Well, our best case scenario is confusing people who are
constantly going. They'll go to the wrong movie."
I would love to look it up. When was this released?
Great.
This came out. This came out June 23rd. When was the Snow White 1987 re-release? I would be surprised if Disney. Right? I would be surprised if Disney did it the same weekend.
Just to fuck them. It's like the real. No, that would totally screw them over. Oh my God, I cannot believe this. This is amazing. Look at these pictures.
These pictures are awful. They're awful.
Look at the dwarf pictures. Okay, we can't look at all these men.
They changed the dwarves' names. Diddy, Giddy, Fitty.
Although you guys,
that didn't age well.
Diddy, Giddy, Fitty,
Fitty, Liddy.
I don't think
Liddy.
Nobody wants Snow White around Diddy.
Dude.
Nothing says they didn't want to be sued more than the names of those characters that you just said.
Oh my God. Maybe fucking Disney changed him. He was like, what the fuck is Idiot? I'm going to call this guy Happy. Did you hear, by the way,
Jeff,
none of us have seen it yet.
What happened? What happened? Oh, yeah. Shit.
But apparently, and I didn't know this, and I don't know how I feel about this, Joyce, and I'm probably not going to see this movie, so I'm not like judging them for it, but I just think it's kind of weird. And it's a good time, like a statement of like where we are right now. They chose not to cast little people in this new version. Yeah.
That's
They're
right.
CGI.
And
is that more or less offensive?
And they took the
Hobbit, in the Hobbit they did that.
But they mocapped them off. They didn't even hire little people for the mocap.
That's the problem. And because the Hobbit did that too. The Hobbit, Richard Armitage was the main Hobbit, and he's like 6'3" in real life. And then Gimli, the original Gimli, is like 6 foot in real life. So that's not too uncommon. True. But yeah. And I think Peter Dinklage made that comment like 5 years ago, and I feel like he fucked this movie over from maybe intentionally from a long time ago when he was like, I don't want to be this dwarf that's backwards, it's ridiculous. He probably was offered it and said fuck you, and then like blasted it to the world. I feel like those Peter Dinklage quotes that are going around are from years ago, and I feel like they took him seriously and they were afraid of him, and they did some weird shit. Yeah.
I mean, he was at the height of his fame.
If as a community they would feel that way, then of course that's the most respectful. But if they took jobs away from little people, then I don't know.
Yeah, also, if you're gonna do live action, do live action.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Disney knows what live action
CGI
means.
I know, they've got to stop calling it that. Like, it's just a fucking whatever.
Yeah. Let's move into our next segment.
Yeah, what they're talking about is photorealistic rendering. It's not live action.
Jeff, smooth it over.
Well said. Smooth it over. A couple things happened this year. Reagan admitted to the Iran-Contra. The Great Southern British Storm of 1987 was this year. Disney and France agreed to make an amusement park in Paris.
That went well.
You know, the first Final Fantasy game came out for NES in Japan. Square released it.
Holy shit.
The stock market crashed.
NES.
Yeah. It literally just said NES. Just fucking said it out loud.
I don't listen to you talk.
Yeah, awesome.
I don't listen.
I refuse to drink for that one. I heard it.
Oh my God. The Berlin Wall speech was this year. The Ich bin ein Berliner, which literally means I am a jelly donut. But you know, we all understood what he was trying to say. I don't fucking care about any of this shit. You guys ready to hear some fun facts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what is this stretching going on in that hotel room of yours? A gallon of milk was $2.28 and a dozen eggs were 78 cents. Yogurt cost $2 for 5 8-ounce cups. Waffles, Aunt Jemima frozen, were $1.20 for a 15-ounce box. Pizza Elio's frozen, $1.19 for a 16-ounce package. And an Orville Redenbacher popcorn was $1.29 for a 16-ounce jar. That is right. A couple other fun things. Did you know that the top 10
what one of those things are?
Did you know that the top 10 cool food and beverage trends? He was too busy eating Spam in the 80s here.
Spam in fucking Australia?
You didn't get a rogue weather balloon from this movie dropping some.
The top 10 food and beverage trends from 1987. Are you ready? Number one, trendy food and beverage trend is angel hair pasta.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, don't forget.
Still prefers that pasta.
Yep.
Yeah,
nice and thin. You know, you just eat twice as much. You don't eat less pasta. You just eat twice as much. Capri Sun comes in at number 2. Cool Ranch Doritos. Cool Ranch Doritos come in at number 3. French onion soup comes in at number 4. That's weird.
What?
Making a comeback.
Yeah. Wait, are you ready for this? Number 5, pasta salad.
You know why the French onion thing came back? Because they introduced that as a Christmas dip. When you get your family together at Christmas, you make that up.
Pasta salad?
No, the French onion thing.
Oh, a dip?
The fact that we didn't know the difference. The fact that we didn't know
French onion, like the dip, you know, like that shit you would buy, like it's next to the Cool Whip. You know, it's like ready to go. You just pull the top off.
Quiche comes in number 6. Shrimp cocktails number 7. I bet you Red Lobster had a good year this year. Sugar cookies and sushi are on the list. You know what number 8 is? SpaghettiOs.
Nice.
Uh-oh, yes. SpaghettiOs. SpaghettiOs, by the way, cost 88 cents for 2 15-ounce cans here in 1987.
Oh my God.
Oh.
And a banquet
No wonder I
TV
grew
dinner
up on those
cost,
things.
a banquet TV dinner cost $1.19 for an 11-ounce package. So no wonder so many families who didn't want to rear their kids just got these $1.19 sugar mobiles in a box.
Yeah, and look what it did to them.
For their kids.
Yeah.
Popular TV shows: Cosby Show 1, like I said before, Roseanne number 2, A Different World number 3, Cheers, and 60 Minutes. Those are the top 5 TV shows. Let's see, what else should I say? A gallon of gas
aged well.
a gallon of gas comes in at 95 cents. The New York Yankees played their 13,000th game. Over 2,000 microwaves were sold in the U.S. None of them were because I put Gorilla Glue in them and ruined Ray Shot's microwave.
For yourself. Just for the memory.
And 500,000 people celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge. And the red M&Ms were back in the marketplace after being banned for 11 years. A monstrous iceberg.
What did the fucking red M&Ms do?
Probably some dye. Probably some dye.
Commie M&Ms.
Yeah, commie M&Ms. Also, listening devices inside them instead of peanuts.
Yeah.
Tear down this wall and get your M&Ms out of my...
Wait, now that we're back on that, did you say the Ich bin ein Berliner speech was this year? That cannot be correct.
The speech was this year. The wall came down in 1989. The speech was this year.
Right.
That was a
long speech.
Okay, you're right. Wait, this is good. See, this is why we need JFK. This is why we need him on.
Yeah, the speech was
been dead for 25 years.
It was AI.
Why did you wait 10 minutes before you show me on this?
Which is weird.
Why did you wait 10 minutes?
The moment passed. The moment passed, and I just let you keep going.
This was the Mr. Gorbachev. This was the Mr. Gorbachev tear down the wall.
Yeah.
Reagan smash. Reagan smash. Reagan smash.
Okay. You did this. You did this.
We're on the same page. Listeners, I don't remember talking about a lot of things.
You've talked about both those speeches on this show for their various years.
Brandon, thanks for being a listener to the show. I really appreciate it. You can keep coming back anytime you want. Anytime. Just rent a hotel room and set up shop, and you guys are good to go.
You should be our producer.
A monstrous iceberg nearly 100 miles long broke loose from Antarctica. That's right. A 100-mile long monstrous iceberg broke loose from Antarctica. I'm sure that's never happened again.
That is nothing compared to what has been happening casually daily.
And last but not least, are you ready? Well, two things. The alligator became the official state reptile of Florida. The official state reptile. Just specifically reptile.
Official population control.
Certainly for dogs.
That's right. Certainly for dogs. And last but not least, if any little dog goes missing in Florida, you can just say crocodile. I'm sorry, alligator. Yeah. Alligator. Instead of delicious. Instead of I killed the dog and threw it in a moat and hoped an alligator ate it before the police found out.
And it was
last
delicious.
Last but not least, North Carolina adopted milk as the official state beverage. How does that make you feel, you two from Concord, North Carolina?
I drank a lot of it. I believe it.
Makes sense.
I drank like a gallon every 3 days growing up.
Did you know that milk from cows are meant to be 1,000 pounds? So the milk that you were drinking was meant to get a 300-pound baby to be over 1,000 pounds. So
don't worry, it was paired with 2 cans of GetTos. So I was
SpaghettiOs
or heaping scoops of ice cream in a milkshake.
Yeah, for sure.
Drinking Sundrop flavored milk.
All right, guys, this is our first Steven. We're going to segue into our actual show here in a second. I want to talk to you. We'll do the Tom Stoppard thing at the midway point. Tom Stoppard is a legend. He wrote the screenplay to this movie. He's an Oscar winner. He won 5 Tonys. He won 3 BAFTAs. He's a legend, and he wrote this screenplay. We're going to talk about him in a second. I'm excited to tease that. But we have talked about some Steves, as we've talked about. And Brandon, you remember all of them. Thank you so much. I'm glad we didn't talk about The Post because I did not like that one so much. But we are going to talk about Steven Spielberg here, specifically in the 80s. Now, I want you to remember that John Hughes and Steven Spielberg both almost won the 80s. So I'm going to play a quick little game. You ready?
According to you?
According to me. According to me. And by the way, I count the 80s, 1980 to 1989. So fuck everybody that goes from 81 to 90. That makes no sense to me. Yeah. Because if you do that, for Steven Spielberg, he produced 7 movies in 1990. And one of the movies he directed, or that includes like one of the Back to the Futures and some shit. Anyway. But also, I will say, John Hughes did some good shit in 1990, 1991 and stuff. Which director between John Hughes and Steven Spielberg directed 7 movies in the 80s.
Directed 7?
Directed 7 major motion pictures in the 1980s. Steven Spielberg or John Hughes?
I think it was John Hughes.
Guess what?
Both.
They both did.
They both did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, fuck
excellent.
you.
Well, fuck yours.
Who? Which of these? If you counted writing credits, directing credits, and producer credits, who was involved in more movies in the 1980s? John Hughes or Steven Spielberg?
Spielberg.
It's gotta be.
I don't know why I'm gushing.
I don't know.
I don't know why I'm gushing.
I mean, there's a lot.
20. It's actually really close. It's really close. I'm counting them up right now because I want to make sure I have my numbers right.
Yeah, starting with The Secret Life of Nikola Tesla.
That's
John
right.
Hughes in
If you
1980.
count writing credits of John Hughes, he wrote, I think it's 22 movies, or co-wrote 22 movies in the 80s. Steven Spielberg, though, his producer credits were a little iffy. If you go on certain sites, like if you go on Wikipedia, for instance, they're only going to give you 20, but they didn't count The Goonies and other movies that he definitely produced, so it gets really fucking weird. But technically, Steven Spielberg crossed 22 into like the 24, 25 threshold. So yeah, Steven Spielberg technically produced more movies. Now, our final one from 1980s. You ready? This is just Steven Spielberg. John Hughes is great. I saw The Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink 16 Candles this past 2-week break that we had, and John Hughes was on the mind. John Hughes did great in the 80s. Steven Spielberg won the 80s. We can go ahead and... Can you name in the next, I'm going to say 20 seconds, can you name all 7 movies that Steven Spielberg directed in the 1980s? Go.
E.T.
1.
This movie that we watched, Empire of the Sun.
2.
Batteries not included?
How
I don't know what that is.
Jones?
Definitely Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Definitely Raiders.
What's the next one?
Is 1941 in the 80s?
No.
No? Color Purple.
That was 9.
Yes.
What? It was 89.
It was 89?
It was 85.
85?
Holy shit.
We're at 30 seconds already. You only have 4.
Damn.
What was the other Indiana Jones?
Okay, fuck it. I'll say
Temple of Doom?
all 3 Indiana Jones were in this. Okay, so you got one more. Go ahead. One more.
Temple of Doom.
One more.
And is it early 80s?
No. I'll give you a hint. It's widely considered his...
He technically didn't do Poltergeist, but are you counting that one?
No.
Because he basically directed it? Okay.
Correct, but no. Are we going to get to a full minute here? 3, 2, 1. That's right, people. In 1989, he directed what many people consider to be his worst movie, even though it was a financial success. Always.
Oh, yeah, I remember
Always.
Shit.
1989. Steven Spielberg directed Always.
Is the last movie that none of us have seen of Steven Spielberg. We thought it was The Last Emperor.
I've seen it.
Pretty good cast.
Always, and you had not seen Empire of the Sun?
Yep.
I said The Last Emperor. Empire
I don't like war films.
What you already mentioned some of the movies he did. Yes, he produced Poltergeist, and many people believe he also sort of directed it. Which also, same thing with like Gremlins, which he probably didn't direct, but he probably had a heavy hand in. And The Goonies, he had a heavy hand in The Goonies. And Back to the Future, he worked very closely with Zemeckis, of course.
What year was Batteries Not Included?
Batteries Not Included. He was 1987. There was an asterisk, and it says executive producer. And I don't feel like clicking on a link, but I don't believe he directed it, Dave. So you can go ahead and click on it and give everybody the, interest of that. Also, I will say, I heard a lot of Land Before Time references in this score, and this movie technically came out first. Steven Spielberg does have an executive producer credit on The Land Before Time, and I believe he spent a lot of time in it. And maybe John Williams, he didn't do the score, John. I see you shaking your fucking head. I see you shaking your goddamn head.
Who did do the score? Let me trivia you, bitch.
It's your boy James Horner, of course.
It is. True story. Good job.
Gosh, to me, but
score, I think.
But I also think James Horner took a lot of the themes from this movie and said, "What are you working on?" And he said, "Let me go ahead and put them in Land Before Time."
That's funny. I think they worked better in Land Before Time.
Yeah.
Not to give you my insight on this film yet, but okay.
It's a brilliant score.
Spielberg also produced Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is another movie in our summer blockbuster face-off that we talked about.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
I literally just said that. Okay, cool. So and then
I'm just gonna see.
John just turns us down for the show, and he waits for your lips to stop moving and says something.
And I will say,
did you say something?
I will say for directing, Spielberg also directed a segment of the Twilight Zone movie, and he also, for some reason, got really into this television series, Amazing Stories.
Yep.
And he directed some stories and he did some TV producing. And this is where his producing that's where he's like, wait, I can make so much money producing. Which is why in the 1990s, every year, it's like 7 years.
Was it that Zemeckis project that he got? It doesn't matter.
They probably worked together. It started in 1985. You guys ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right. Well, like always, I'm going to go ahead and say the IMDb description of our film when we get into it. And then, like I said, maybe at our little before spoilers break, I'm going to talk about why Tom Stoppard was the perfect movie to adapt this book into a major motion picture here, into a good screenplay. But I'm going to read the description and I'm going to send you on your way. Let's just ask this. Was it a first-time watch for all of you? Empire of the Sun, first-time watch, yes or no?
Yeah, first time. Yeah, again, I thought we all said this was the only Spielberg I've never seen. So, but apparently Dave lied to us and he saw the...
No, he has seen it.
No, you had not seen this one. You'd seen Always.
Right, so he was correct. This is the only one he hadn't seen. Y'all lied.
Yes. We were ignorant.
Thank God I'm here.
Right. I don't know where we'd be without you.
Where would we be? Okay.
You'll start calling him the judge whenever he appears.
This movie, of course, stars a 13-year-old Christian Bale and a full-grown John Malkovich and Miranda Richardson, with a shout-out of Joe Pantoliano, who really wanted to eat that steak and fuck Morpheus and Neo over.
Village
and another shout-out.
No mas.
Oh my God, that was the same guy? I just realized that. He was in the Goonies too.
It's still impossible for me to say his name without saying Pantalones, which means pants in Spanish. And Ben Stiller had made his first featured film debut. He was only 21 when he filmed this movie. Ben Stiller.
Where his real teeth?
Shout out. His real teeth? Is that what you said? Before he got rich. Anyway, IMDb description. This was a renter for all of us. It is a renter. Are you ready? A young English boy struggles to survive under Japanese occupation of China during World War II. So I have to admit, I didn't know this was going to be an occupation story or it was going to be like an internment story. I thought, because all the images that you see are Christian Bale looking up and seeing the planes. So I thought it was going to be just like your typical, like a wartime story of some kind. I didn't realize he was going to be in an internment camp for the majority of the movie, but they certainly want you to believe this is an internment camp movie in Japan in this time period. So it's interesting the way that it was marketed. And I guess the book, the novel, is more so like that too. But anyway, who should we get started? I feel like we should go to the Says. We should go. The sun is setting behind you. The glare behind you isn't as bad.
Or to the Says.
To the Says. What do you guys think? First, what do you think?
I'll go first, and I'll be brief because I didn't know I was going to be on this episode, so I watched it immediately when y'all announced it, which was like 2 weeks ago, and I've already forgotten a lot of it.
Fans, take note. If you do that, you could be on our show. Come on, let's go.
I will say what I remember about my impression, which was that I did not care for this movie. I did not think it worked. And I'm struggling to tell you why. I can just... You can drink for me. I'll struggle to tell you why, but I think there was something essentially missing from this to make me give a fuck about anything that was happening when it clearly is about something very serious that I should care about. It was not there for me. I fell asleep for like 5 minutes at one point and didn't bother rewinding. I didn't care. It fucking dragged on forever.
Your fuck count is pretty high today. Your fuck count is way higher than Bonnie and Clyde and some Swedish films that we talked about. Wait, but okay, let's do this. Let's say we split the movie up to before he was in the camp, when he was just like wealthy British person living in Shanghai and the British-China handshake agreement with the war looming. Did you like that part of the movie and then not like when he was
actually? Yeah, you're probably
trading
right.
cigarettes
that part
for everybody?
was much more tolerable. I would say I was more interested in that part of the movie and seeing how it was going to lead to the conflict. I was looking forward to the inciting incident, and I liked the way it was set up with the way he treated the people, I guess all of his servants, when she slaps him. That
Oh,
was my
it's so
favorite
good.
part of the movie.
Yeah.
Such a good slap.
Everything that happened after when he was in the camp, it felt there was a tone shift in a way that I think was not appropriate. I felt like it got more frivolous or something. I don't know. It lost me completely. Just him running from place to place. It just got really filmy, and it lost me.
All right.
That's my memory of the movie. So that's all I'll say for now.
Why don't you all go first, and then I'll go third.
Dave, you want to go, or you want me? Dave's been really concise with his first takes here.
Yeah, because I leave a lot of it for the discussion afterwards. But
we don't.
I thought I was going to agree and have the same experience you did, but I want to say from the point when Malkovich first turns up on screen, it started to win me over.
Good point.
The opposite.
Because
almost the opposite.
That kid starts as an entitled little shit, and he's not a likable character at all. And yeah. So I didn't, and there was one thing I really loved about that first section, but just one thing. But once it settled down into the rest of the story, where he's like basically stuffed and on his own, I started to enjoy the movie a lot more.
Do you want to say what that one thing is, or do you want to leave us in suspense?
Fucking get it. What? I want to. I'll save that for a little bit. Come back to me.
Right in the nose.
I'm hoping it's when they saw the little hill for the first time, when he goes off and running in his pirate costume. I hope that's what it was.
It's not.
All right, John. Oh fuck.
I'm going to be positive.
Yeah.
On this positive film cast, because
Film cast.
It's still, that's what we do. It's still a Spielberg movie. And I think if you like his filmmaking, there are some people who are fans of his movies that I think the things that we're probably going to end up talking about that bothered us might not bother them because they don't like threatening subject matter. And I don't think he does that. That's not really in his wheelhouse, unless it's with dinosaurs. That's the one time he seems to be able to pull it off.
And even then, they were kind of cute.
This movie the filmmaking is extremely controlled. And I watched the making of after this was done because I was so fascinated to learn about how they made it, because it seems like an epic filmmaking venture, and it was. They went to Shanghai. It was the first time an American movie was made in Shanghai after the switchover and the changeover culturally there. Spielberg was the first one allowed in, and he used thousands of extras and shut down one of their main blocks for some of these streets and shot all over that place. The whole thing was made in China.
The thing I loved of the most ironic thing at all out of this was the Chinese government fined them, I think it was like $13,000 for pollution because of all the smoke. It's like the Chinese government finds you for pollution.
Yeah. Especially that city. Isn't Shanghai isn't that like the most polluted city in China? But I think in watching the making of, I think I found the reason why some of us might not feel like this movie really works. And it's not just Spielberg's fault, if you want to blame somebody. I think it's also in the intention of the autobiography, which I never read. I've never read Empire of the Sun. It was written by J.G. Ballard, that the screenplay and story are based on. But there's this moment in the making of when Spielberg is sitting next to Christian, and he's talking to him, and John Malkovich is sitting across from them. He's kind of just listening. And Spielberg is waxing on why he decided to make this movie. Because he says multiple times to the camera, this isn't really the kind of child tale that I usually tell. I usually like to talk about children overcoming the odds. This is a story about a child kind of being crushed into manhood and still trying to find some kind of humanity out of it. That's not really what I do. And then later in the making of, he's talking to them. That's what I just said is not the scene. Now he's talking to Christian and John Malkovich. And he talks about how once you're in the camp, and he's talking to Christian, he says, a lot of the things that happen in the story weren't realistically what happened. It's almost like the adventure that J.G. Ballard, after the fact, had to create for himself so that it would feel like he could cope with it. Mm. And I knew immediately when he said that, I was like, that's Spielberg's hook. It turned into an adventure story, and it felt inappropriate for a wartime story to be adventure. Now, in terms of intention and authenticity, this making of kept cutting back and forth between a documentary style interior room interview with J.G. Ballard talking about his life and the book. And he says, and maybe him and Spielberg talked about this, but he said multiple times, like verbatim, I know it's kind of messed up to admit this, but even though I was so traumatized by that event and everything that happened to us, I actually enjoyed being in the camp in a sense. Like there was a version of me that felt very safe there. And I knew all these adults and I had a totally controlled environment and we knew the war was happening all around us, but like I could be a kid there. And it did end up changing me.
That was very clearly communicated that he was able to compartmentalize and just put the blinders on to the other shit. I haven't seen something like that since Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so I want to give props where props are due. I think that was the intention of the author. And I think Spielberg was the right man for the job. I think some of us just thought we were going to see Striped Pajamas or The Kite Runner or something that's like a little bit more like this child.
There are so many movies since this movie came out that you could be like, oh, because even La Vita è Bella, right? Like Life is Beautiful. There's so many references where it's like, oh, that. They're in the camp and they're intentionally naive for the sake of their survival and they're having fun because they're a kid. They get away with it. Life is Beautiful. I feel like there's a lot of references like that.
Yeah, it's a really good example. Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit more about like some film things, which is why I think that enabled this concept that I'm going to be continuing arguing for the rest of the episode. But I'm somewhere in the middle. Like this is not one of his best movies because he's one of the greatest of all time and he's made some of the greatest movies of all time. So that's hard to compare anything to. But I didn't hate this movie the way I think the world hated this movie. Jeff, how much money did this movie make? It was $37 million in China. So adjusted even at that time, I think that would have been around 50 if he had made it in America, maybe 50 to 70.
I mean, it got nominated for 6 Oscars. They didn't hate it that much.
I know, but did you look at how much money it made?
Yes, in our list.
Like 20 or something, right?
Empire of the Sun worldwide made 22, but here's the thing. The 22 on the numbers does not count the domestic number. Empire of the Sun, or maybe unless it was equal. No. It was like the numbers it's still coming in. But if you count marketing costs, it did not make money. And
especially
hopefully with Blockbuster.
For Steven Spielberg standards, it did not make fucking 18 money, right? Like he didn't.
No, it does have a 7.7 on IMDb, which is quite high.
I do want to say, just in case people stop listening to this episode, I do want to say Christian Bale is a fucking prodigy, and it's evident in this movie.
Fair enough. Yeah,
that was
fucking shit. Especially when you set him sitting opposite Malkovich.
He did not need makeup.
Every
minute of it.
Jeff, the focus. The
focus, yeah.
There's in this making of documentary, he would be like, just Spielberg, he's great with the kids, he'd be talking to him, be like, yeah, and he would be like, he would step behind the camera and be like, action, and just this fucking thing would happen.
The intensity.
He's so good.
He did not need makeup to be ashen later in the movie, and he also. The little bits, which you can almost Wikipedia it, like when he's excited about the bombers and then like the guy's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't know what my parents look like. It's like you look at his face and he does the turn on camera. And that's what you always need from your actors. Like you need, especially for your kid actors, you got to get it in the frame. You got to get it. Let me tell the
story just because this is how good this kid is. And Steven's a great director too. Steven Spielberg will often just get behind the camera. Like he's known for doing that. He'll set up his own shots. He'll operate sometimes. They were doing the big bombing sequence at the end where Christian's on the top roof. Not spoiling anything. Of course, there are bombs in a wartime story. And this is a big moment for Christian. A big performance moment. And this is a kid. And this was one of those situations where they were like, you got one take. So this is a big deal, and we need you to do it. I need you to, and again, the filmmaking is so controlled. So I need you to turn here. I'm going to be yelling behind the camera. I need you to turn. You're going to see it coming past you. You're going to turn back around. Cadillac of the sky, that whole moment. It goes by, and Steven's not satisfied. The crane swings in front of him for that moment. He's behind him over the shoulder. He catches him. He turns and has that moment, and he's not satisfied. And you see it like almost in real time with this like behind the scenes documentary. He like taps Christian's shoulder. He's like, we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. Steven is thinking, he has to get it done before the smoke in the background stops dissipating from the bomb. So he has like less than a minute, and he just coaches Christian through that same moment a few other times, and Christian fucking nails it. Like, pressure's on. The kid knows the pressure's on. He thought it was a one-take situation. Turned around, got the close-up. Steven got it. Like, everybody was like, great, we're moving on. Print.
I thought Christian, good job. It was supposed to be one take. Like, it was supposed to be all one-er.
But he didn't get the close-up, which is the performance moment. And I just thought that was like, wow. I mean, that kid is a fucking freak, and he's stayed a freak. What an actor. So I do want to celebrate that. That's probably the best thing about this movie, is that there is a child that the camera is on pretty much every frame of this movie. And I don't think he has one false fucking move. You might disagree with the direction or the way he's contextualized in terms of the way the filmmaking is, or what's happening, or how he's playing it, but
editing and
but not how he's playing it. What he's told to do. But Jesus.
I'm wondering how much trouble they had with like the Chinese camera gear, because I imagine they didn't bring it with them, because there's a lot of production errors actually in this thing, like cameras shaking, and you can see dollies that are like doing this as they're rolling along. There's in the very beginning of the film, there's one take where they do a fade cut in the middle of it into a different take. Of the same angle.
Are you talking about where they're putting him to bed?
Yeah.
Yeah, we caught that too. Elizabeth was like, what was that?
Fade cut. I'm like, oh, that stayed in?
Interesting.
Now, that was Michael Caine cut this in America, baby. So I don't know. We might, who knows what happened in the actual...
Yeah, he has 3 Oscars.
You certainly can't go back for reshoots.
I've held his Oscar before. It's quite heavy.
Which one? He has 3. Michael Caine has 3 Oscars. So
Saving Private Ryan. I think it was that one.
He did that. He did Schindler's, and he did E.T. He won Oscars for all of them. It's so funny. So I'm with all of you for sure. I'm going to keep this part quick so that we can get into the longer conversation. But
longer, we're already an hour and 6 in.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
What it means is Dave talked for 3 seconds and you talked for fucking 10 minutes. You dick. That's what it means.
That's usually what happens. But he interrupts enough, so that basically when you add up all
we
the
all chimed in.
interruptions.
We all chimed in. But as far as our takes are concerned,
yeah, we need to refresh their ears occasionally.
Well, I'm glad you talked about John. I'm glad you finished the way you did, because there are highs in this movie, and there are so many of them. And I think that when you watch the B-roll of the Steven Spielberg stuff, and they have to show Empire of the Sun, they can't pretend like they didn't. And you watch Christian Bale in the streets with all the extras, and he looks up and he sees the planes. Brilliant, right? I think the time he stumbled upon that weird platoon that's like in the trench, when he's in the pirate outfit, like that's stunning stuff. Like it's shocking. Like it makes you hold your breath. I think there's so much of that. I think on the whole, the pacing, the length of the movie, it's even at the time it was too long, and we've only come to a place now where we're like, you got to make that quicker. And with Spielberg too, like Lincoln's a good example too, where it's like the original draft that Tony Kushner did was 600 pages. There's the famous thing where he's like, this is going to have to be a miniseries. And then he says, well, what is the point? And he's like, well, the point is the passing of the amendment, the 13th Amendment. And so they focus on that. I feel like the book, Tom Stopper, the original screenwriter, they were so personal. It was so, and even Steve, this is really personal to him, and he's talked forever about Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. This is a personal time for him because his family was fucking ruined from the war. So like even his mom, like when you watch The Fabelmans, this all dates back to the war, when her culture and her heritage gets stripped from her, and she, this is. What I'll say, and to this jumping off point, is this is a fantastic movie if you watch all of the Spielberg movies in a row, or if you care about Steven Spielberg, because we're doing this from 40 years later, right? This is the movie where he has his kid protagonist, which he does in all of his movies. Even Jaws, which is not a kid protagonist movie, a lot of the early victims are teenagers, right? Like he knows what it's like, and even like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the kid is the thing that like grounds that movie. The kid getting lost, and then the mom not knowing what to do about it. And then Schindler's List is coming up, and whenever I make my list of what are the best Spielberg movies, I don't even know what to do with Schindler's List because it's such an exceptional movie and it's so specific that it's like I don't even know if I can count it as my favorite or my second. I can't even put it in the conversation with Jurassic Park and Jaws and all those kinds of things because it's so powerful that it's like it almost has to just like hang in MoMA, and then you have the rest of the Steve to go with it. I don't know if you have that movie without this movie, So I feel like when you think about it in that context, this movie's so important and so great with that. But if you just watch it on a Sunday after watching the Shanghai Grand Prix and go, oh, Grand Prix, and I go, Grand Prix, and you go, oh, I'm back in Shanghai, then yeah, there's pacing issues that drag here and there, and it's like you see Malkovich and you're like, thank God Malkovich is here. Like, thank God, because if I have to watch the next 2 hours of this movie and he's just going from interment to interment selling cigarettes, I'm not gonna make it to the end of this movie. So I feel like that's the dichotomy you have with this movie, where there's so many great things about it. The legacy of this movie is important, but the movie watching itself doesn't live up to his other movies. I think that's the conundrum I'm left with.
I think I agree with that.
That's really well put.
That is also really well put.
I feel like the beginning of it as well relied on a lot of foreknowledge of the conflict as well in the beginning. because they had the text scroll, but I for a minute there, I had to stop and look up what was actually going on at that time to get what was happening.
I think they did not. I don't think they expected anyone to know what was happening, and I think if you were patient, you learned what was happening to him. And then I Googled at the end of it. I didn't, but I mean, I don't think anybody knew anything about that. Or they assumed
just nobody knew anything about why people were running when the Chinese are marching down the street. I think so, too.
Brandon, don't you yawn. Don't you fucking do it, you son of a bitch. You're on camera, goddammit, with YouTube.
Those are the Japanese marching down the street.
Well, that's the thing. The uniforms were very similar.
Racist.
No. I know. I think it was
Buzz
intentional.
That motherfucker.
No, this is buzzing everybody. No, because this is one of those things. This is back to Matt and Mark. Who, by the way, Matt and Mark, I love you guys. The episodes are getting long, bro. You guys are great. But I think that, but
no, we need more.
No, I'm with you too.
Just get on Twitch. Don't
This
stop.
is why I love the Patreon, and I know the Patreon wasn't doing well. Anyway,
I want to get us and them and maybe one other one.
Because they talked about this
long show.
They talked about this with Dune, where you didn't know who the people were that were getting hit, and I was like, that was the point. If they had plenty of time and plenty of money, if you couldn't figure out who was who, and they wanted you to know, they would have made the codes brighter. In this movie, by the way, speaking of Schindler's List, Christian Bale was wearing a red fucking coat while everybody else was wearing the same thing. So you tell me this movie didn't inspire Schindler's List? You can go fuck yourself. Yeah. He literally is wearing his red British coat while everybody else is wearing the same uniform.
I want to say before I forget.
But I'm just saying, as far as like who, if it's Japanese or Chinese, Dave, I think that's the point. I think he is literally sitting there going, we don't know what's going on. And he didn't either. The boy, yes, but even Americans, we didn't realize this was happening. We were so obsessed with Pearl Harbor, and it turned everybody into a racist kerfuffle. But it's like, who knows who the people who are marching in the street are good or bad?
I have two things to say, and I just don't want to forget either of them. But to what you just said, let's give Steven some credit, as he got some shit for doing with Munich, where he tries to bring his very, very significant voice, international voice, to issues of conflict. And he tries to kind of stay somewhere in the middle and point fingers at both of them, the way I think a good storyteller should. The fact that this child eventually idolizes the bravery and warriorship of the Japanese while he's a prisoner of the Japanese, I found very interesting. Consider, everybody who was in that audience knew whose side the Japanese were on when this conflict was happening.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I just want to say to the end of your initial statement, Jeff, was that another way of putting that is what you said, is that unlike Schindler's List, that is absolutely evocative, compelling, tragic, and the gloves are off. He wants to hurt you with that one because that event hurts. This movie does not take place from the perspective of the child in Schindler's List when she opens that floorboard and see those kids in the water.
No.
It is not observational, and kids just happen to be a part of the tragedy. It is a kid's experience. True. And because of that, I think once he made that directorial choice, that every single thing is going to be filtered through a child's experience, you can't go more threatening than what he showed us. Kids don't experience tragedy that way. I think that scene, some of my favorite scenes, which they're so Spielberg, and even though I was feeling like, I wish this movie scared me, I wish it was more threatening, I couldn't deny that when those kids were like, when they all tackled each other and he's trading marbles with them and shit, I was like, that's exactly what they would be doing in this situation. This was not a concentration camp. It was an internment camp.
It's not The Great Escape, which we also talked about on our show.
Yeah. So, I mean, according to that reality, and again, I've heard J.G. Ballard now talk about this, like the kids just had their childhood there. Like they played games together and they didn't think of it the same way that maybe some of the adults thought of it. And that's a bit of, you're shackled a little bit by that. Whether or not it worked doesn't mean that there wasn't some kind of truth there. And I think there was some truth there. I just don't know if it ended up being the most entertaining version of the movie. And that's something that we could just debate with Stephen.
I just want to get back to the thing I set up at the opening about the one shot I really, really liked in the first section of it. It's when they're crossing the bridge to go to the costume party. Yeah. And you've got like all the British in the car dressed up in their costume regalia, and all the evacuating fucking people trying to go the other way, and like the contrast of that is held in camera, and that was really weird.
Pressed against the window,
oh my god,
it's disgusting. That was great.
And these people are just off to a party.
Yeah, he shot that on that exact bridge that they would often move that traffic to and fro inside that little international place. I mean, there was so much stuff that was like completely realistically created. And Dave, to your point, like about like I didn't quite understand what was happening. Like I didn't quite understand what was happening, and there was something unsettling about that. Like I kept thinking to myself, this boy is more comfortable being a fish out of water than I am. Like he seems to be adjusted to living inside this little chasm of a much larger society in that city. And I was not more, and it worked for me. I enjoyed that feeling in that first half where I was like, I'm nervous for the kid. And I'm nervous. I know something is about to go off. Why do I keep seeing Japanese people here? What the fuck is happening? Like, why are these soldiers? So historically, that was kind of eye-opening to watch events take place that way when we are all, and I know Stephen knew this, we are all nurtured to seeing goose-stepping swastika fucking Germans, right? And there were you saw a couple Nazi swastikas, but mostly it was a totally different kind of war theater. They had already taken control of China, and they were basically like allowing Shanghai to kind of function under their occupation in this very strange way. It wasn't the way the Germans did it in the European theater. And I don't know, that was eye-opening, and that was fun to see. And I guess there was a little bit of me that was kind of happy to experience it with a little innocence, so that it wasn't just immediately, a foot on my neck for the whole movie, and I was just going to be sad the way Schindler's List kind of feels.
I know,
which is a powerful way. But
I said some stuff about cinematography earlier and like the tech troubles they might have had. I just want to clarify the silhouette work they did in this was fucking beautiful.
Because I missed it.
Like, yeah. Well, there's just that particular cinematographer. Like, I'm not saying he was off his game. I'm saying that it looked like they were experiencing technology problems with some of the gear.
The cinematographer did E.T. and a lot of other movies, so I'm going to go ahead and say it's not him.
Let's talk technically. Yeah, because he was not working with, Dave, what's his name?
Michael Ballhaus?
No, his DP. What the fuck is his name? Yeun. What the fuck is his name that he's worked with since Schindler's List, basically?
Yeah, this was actually the last film he did with that this particular DP.
With Alan Daviau.
And it's still amazing. Don't get me wrong. What I'm about to say, I'm not saying it's not good. It's just whether or not it's right or not for this movie.
Jeff, turn your B screen off.
Do I have to do that again?
Is so controlled, the filmmaking, that I was more frustrated, I think, by that than anything else. The lack of threat did not come from what I've been talking about, that I think I didn't mind. The fact that it's a child's perspective, the innocence was found where it could. The adventure was
about
created
the death of innocence. So he showed a lot of innocence trying to kill it. A lot of innocence.
I know, but I'm just saying, I think I would have felt very differently about it if there was a little more freedom and spontaneity with camera. The fact that everything was so incredibly controlled kept me from ever for one millisecond thinking something bad was going to happen. After that scene with the crowd, and even that scene with the crowd, what was in the frame was threatening, for sure. I was like just as a filmmaker, I was just like, wow, that's a lot of fucking people pushing against them. It was cool, by the way, if anybody gives a shit, if you go in the making of, you can see how they hired, which they always do in these big crowd mob scenes. It's really fun, a little inside baseball for you. You hire a small group of stunt performers that act as a shield around the extras who are around them. And they all have a bunch of interesting choreography. So it looks like they're moving constantly, but they're actually like dancer choreographed performers who work around your leads so they never actually get crushed by extras.
Wow.
So the whole staging of that was brilliant and fucking amazing, and I can't believe they pulled it off, and it looked really real. But it was inside this controlled sequence and camera movement, and that never shifted. It never went away from that. There was a part of me that wanted to see him as the child became more in denial of what was happening to him and was starting to create all of these new adventures and this kind of like weird compensatory emotional thing while he was in the camp. I was hoping his camera was going to go more handheld. I was hoping it was going to be more floaty and we were going to kind of be like not totally with them all the time. And it didn't. It got even more controlled in the camp.
It was that's probably what I mean.
It felt like Hook
it felt very filmy. It lost me in like the emotional storytelling of it. It wasn't solid.
I will say, talking about those extras, some of the extra acting in this was bad. Like there were times where you could tell people in the foreground or background of a frame were just kind of, they weren't really committing to the bit.
And this isn't like a prejudice or racist comment at all, but
no.
Can you imagine having to work through multiple translators to talk to large groups of people? Like Steven didn't know if it was right.
I've done it. I was working with a Japanese. I was working with a Japanese orchestra once in the theater, and their translator went to lunch, and that was the most intense half hour.
Oh my God!
So no doubt, stuff like that fell through the cracks.
While we're talking about cinematography, do you think maybe not necessarily the actual images they took of epic planes or plane crashes or whatever, but just the plane imagery in general was overused? I kind of felt like it would have been more powerful if they had showed a bit more restraint with that. Do you know what I mean?
Again, I need to split the movie in half. Are you talking about before the camp or after the camp or both?
I guess it's both, because there's a lot of it in both sections of it. It's very heavy-handed on that's what he wants you to look at the fucking cover. That's what he wants you to think of with this movie. But it's just like every other scene, there's a plane in someone's fucking hand. There's a plane in the sky. There's a plane crashing, or he comes up on a plane. It's too much. It kind of
and again, it makes me wonder if to the average
I'll say something positive at some point.
To the average 10 or 11-year-old, they might only think about planes.
Right.
But they're not the audience. They're not the ones watching this movie.
So you have to wonder that. I still feel like that was kind of his pinch. He was like, I always have that as an anchor. It's something that's going to drag him into being interested and then very devoted to what those Japanese guys are doing. Case in point, the romanticism of him finding that Japanese fighter, the Stinger, or whatever they call those things, his hands on it, the three people coming up, the salute scene, the sparks flaring all over and behind him.
Yeah.
It's so over the top, right? It's so romanticized. It's not realistic at all. And I think he thought that
those people look dead. Today and days, we would have thought those three people were dead. Those three pilots, I was like, they are ghosts.
What do you mean?
The three pilots who saluted him. If this came out today, I would just assume
they were kamikaze pilots, so that's not a stretch.
Yeah, I was going to say, Dave, thank you. That was a kamikaze ceremony, right? Before they were taking off.
Yes.
These guys are definitely...
I looked this up. So this goes back to the book. Okay, can I do my Tom Stopper thing really quick?
Go.
Please.
I also saw Leopoldstadt on Broadway, which is his most recent, and he's like almost 90, so it's maybe his last.
How old is he? Oh, damn.
Yeah. So Tom Stoppard, who rose to fame with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, he wrote that in the 60s, and from there on, he was set for life. He was born in 1937 as a Jew in Czechoslovakia, which I'm going to go ahead and say was a bad time to be born as a Jew in Czechoslovakia. 1937.
True that.
So obviously the Germans were about to occupy Czechoslovakia. It's now known as the Czech Republic, of course. The town's patron decided to transfer all of his Jewish employees, mostly people who were well off, so his physicians and elsewhere. His dad was kind of a physician, elsewhere. And his parents, his mom and dad with him, of course, they got transferred to, get this, Singapore, which they talk about in the film, although he never actually goes there. So... But guess what? His dad, who's a physician, they were working at a factory just to make, pay the dues, right? So in 1939, he goes to Singapore. Literally on the day of the Nazi occupation, on the day of the Nazi occupation of Czechoslovakia, literally, the screenwriter of this movie, Tom Stoppard, the day they beat by 6 hours, they flew to Singapore. And then as soon as they get to Singapore, it gets occupied by the Japanese. And the family gets split up. And the dad decides to stay because he's a physician and he figures that they will need his services to defend against the Japanese. So him and his mom then get flown to, doesn't matter because they were captured, India, but they were captured by the Japanese. His dad was captured by the Japanese, ended up dying in captivity. Him and his mom were actually able to be released, and they went to India where they were in a school where he was able to be educated until 1945. And then his mom was fortunate enough to marry a British officer and then expedited to England. And then in 1946, he began formal British education. He got to take his British surname, but he is not a Brit. He is actually Czechoslovakian via Singapore and India. And Leopoldstadt, a lot of it takes place in Vienna, where it's talking about like the overtake of the Nazis in Vienna. But there's a character in there who left early. His family sent him to England to get educated. And then they go back to try to, I think there was a period of time where you could go and claim the artifacts, the writings, the artwork that were stolen by the Nazis. And this one guy, this one character was educated by the English, and he feels guilty when he's talking to everybody. It's like, we stayed and I survived and everybody else died. And he's like, well, I went to England because that's what my mom wanted me to do. And he's like, but you lived. And he's like, and not only did you live, you thrived because you have this all worldwide experience. So Tom Stoppard has this guilt that he's been carrying forever. So I feel like he was the perfect person to adopt this particular screenplay of, and he didn't do a lot of movies, but in this he did The Real Thing this year that came out, a lot of Tonys and stuff for a lot of different people, Glenn Close, Jeremy Irons, a lot of famous people have done The Real Thing, Roger Rees. But why did I go on this tangent? What were we talking about right before this started?
You just wanted to give us the tidbit about why it was so personal to him.
Yeah.
And then right before that, because I was about to say something negative and I wanted to say something positive first, and I can't remember.
You dug yourself in the corner.
But I think ultimately it's so personal that the novel itself was so... It wanted this experience. It wanted the death of innocence. It wanted Christian Bale to go through what Dave was saying before. Oh, this entitled British kid. It wanted it so much that it was like, I feel like it could have been snappier. I feel like we were so into this story. We were so particular about the story. But ultimately, I can't remember what the fuck we were talking. I can't remember.
I have a question for you, Jeff.
I definitely agree that when we got to that slap, that was definitely a great
slap was the best part of the movie. That was like one of the best parts of this entire movie.
Carry on.
Yes. Jeff, you keep bringing up this sort of dividing point in the movie. And I think it's an important one to bring up because there is a pretty big shift in the feel and the plot and everything. Do you prefer the first or the second half?
I prefer the first half. There's no question. Yeah. There's not even a slight question. Do you as well?
And also, and this will lead to my question I'm about to ask you guys. Of course you do, right? Because, man, it's hard to have a story in any kind of prison scenario if you're not trying to escape. Like, almost every prison movie is also or only about trying to escape. That could be mentally, emotionally, or physically, but it's part of it, right? And this is kind of the opposite. He was like finding refuge and mentorship and friendship. I liked his friendship with the doctor. I liked, obviously, with John Malkovich. Like, I liked those relationships. Really nice. But the thing that I kept, when I was a little negative on it, when it was maybe dragging a little bit and there was a lot of him running around, I was thinking, like, what's the story here? And I hate saying that because sometimes things are just good enough to watch, but it was so long in that second half, which felt more like 2/3 to me. I felt like that was like 2/3.
Yeah, it was 2/3. Yeah.
Because you do have to kind of ask yourself, like, what's the story here? What is happening to this child?
Well,
see,
two things.
Backwards. Like, I preferred the second half to the first half.
Really?
So interesting. The second.
See, that's funny because all right. Oh, hold on, wait. I think I just answered my own question, but we're going to talk about the context of why that worked for you. I want to hear you say why, and I'm definitely going to. I'll simply tell you why the first half I think worked better for me. I think the story is survival, and I think in the first half it was more interesting to me because his version of survival took him into meeting strangers. It took him back to escaping, back to home. He was almost starved to death and he had to like go find food. It put him in a little bit of that classic storytelling. I know that sounds like fucking boring dramaturgy, but you're putting your character in a situation where they have to do something they've never done before and their life changes because of it. When he was surviving in the camp, I felt like there was a bit of a comfort in a routine that made me feel like his life wasn't really changing. The world we knew was changing around him, and I still enjoyed that quite a bit. But what was happening to him seemed to simmer. It started to simmer, as opposed to, I wanted, it should be a raging boil, and it should get out of control, and it should build to, the way, and I just didn't feel like that was happening. What do you guys think about that? Do you agree or disagree?
Yes, because I think the big thing is John Malkovich didn't want to escape. Or at least he didn't seem like he was wanting to. So if the boy is going to be in this state of innocence, at least with La Vita Bella, go back to Life is Beautiful, at least the dad wanted to get out of there. At least the dad was like, I don't want to be here. And so you had that reference point. I feel like John Malkovich was like, I get fed first, I'm good. It was confusing. And I know he eventually like escaped, but I didn't feel it from him for a lot of the movie. And even when he was saying like, I want you to get out of there. But even back to the kamikaze boy, and that thing, it was kind of the same thing. They were too friendly, and he can have that as his own side plot, but I didn't feel like there was something nudging him out. I'm with you on that. I wish there was something that was like, this isn't right. We got to move on. You're totally right.
There was a little, Dave, I want to hear your answer too, but there was a little bit of me that thought, again, when we first hear that seedling of John Malkovich talking about escaping, I was like, ooh, we're going to start staying, it's going to become a little bit more of a two-hander, or, maybe not totally two-hander, but we're going to feel John Malkovich, the adults, trying to escape, and you're going to see a kid not understanding why they want to leave. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm all about it. Let me watch this child not understand that kind of drive. But it just didn't happen.
Is this a crazy reference? In Castaway, we get used to him figuring out how to survive. And then once he gets used to it, rather than sit there and try to witness him, it's like, because this is about the death of innocence. This movie's about the death. They cut, he's older, he can survive. And then and then all of a sudden the rescue comes, and that's that. We don't have to, I don't need to see so much. It's like, just fucking cut. I feel like when they did the cut, and it's like, okay, don't cast a new kid. Fine, keep the 13-year-old, even though we know he's older now. But
give him away.
You can't give me another. You can't. When they cut, they gave him another hour of internment camp before he got. It's like an hour of this. That's the thing about the novel. Yeah. I know that the novel's so moving and it's so great. Leave the people who are going to read the book wanting more, and get to the point of this. You want the death of innocence? We can get that in 2 scenes. We can do that, Steve.
But Dave, I think you felt the opposite. I guess I want to hear why.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like. It was a character development thing for me, because the kid was essentially useless right at the beginning. He kept trying to surrender to everyone, and everyone's just like, and he's just
that's true.
all this stuff is happening to him, and then from the point of the camp, or from the point he meets John Malkovich, he starts to take control of his own environment and starts to build himself. Like, he develops as a character, that he becomes essential to everyone, because everyone needs him, and he's helping this person, he's helping this person. So this goes to this.
He's helping the people who imprisoned him.
Yeah, but he's also helping the other prisoners as well. So he's basically embedded himself in that what little culture he has, and he develops as a person in making himself useful to everyone, so that nobody messes with him.
Yeah, he kind of thrives.
That's a good point.
In that scenario, doesn't he? He learns how to kind of work every angle.
But we can get that in one scene. I feel like I got that in one scene.
Sorry?
I feel like I got that in one scene. I didn't, the one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm usually the one going, let's move it along, pacing. I enjoyed that journey. I don't know why.
I know. I'm glad.
You're so fucking right. Also, there's no way he witnessed the atom bomb. I just want to say that. Can I say that? There's no way he witnessed the atom bomb.
He said, all right, so J.G. Bell, in that making up thing, he admitted, I did not have that experience, but I met people after we all escaped.
He did witness a bomb that was dropped 500 miles away.
They saw like a flash of light in the sky, and we were all like around
I fucking loved that sequence
area.
Yeah, you're right.
Me too. I thought that was cool.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
All right.
And then what about the fog in every single frame for the next 5 minutes? How was that?
Sure. They needed to do it. And how about in case you really didn't get the symbolism, he throws his baggage into the sea.
Well, that sets up the bookend of the other shot where the coffins were floating in the water at the start.
Yeah. I know, which was awesome. I liked that one better. The second one felt a little cheesy. But again, it was a kid, so it's like, that's a big moment for a kid. Like, he's acting like an adult. I kept having to tell myself.
Also, the water was a lot calmer at the start.
Go back to being a child. Let's talk about some of our favorite moments that worked for you. I don't care if it's technical or if it's emotional. It's another performance moment too. And I saw in the making of, they show them shooting it, it's just a single fucking skeleton light, camera right in his face after he gets back from getting the pheasant for Thanksgiving, and he doesn't get caught. And he's allowed to come in and live in the American dorm, and he lays down. And this is like, you could feel Stephen like, God, how do I divide my acts? Like, we're going into the third act, and you could feel him like, oh, this will work. Like that moment of resolve where he's like, I did it. I'm accepted. And it's a total fade to black. It's a clean cut in the act. I just thought I felt something there. Like that child, he's like fucking 13 years old, and he laid down on his back and just looked right off that camera. And I totally felt everything that was happening to him, and I don't know how he did it. And that was, I thought that was really remarkable. And I also just want to call out, because we're kind of talking about like how could what I'm about to say work for me if I didn't really love all the build up to it, but it did work for me. I cannot. That scene where the parents come to the orphanage, the refugee orphanage, to find the children, and they see him, the way Steven staged that.
Yeah.
To go past him a couple times, it wasn't like we knew they were going to see him, but that it wasn't happening. He didn't see them. To actually finally hold him and to finally have, that was good direction. To finally have let your eyes close. You can finally go to sleep, which was something that I thought about when that moment happened. It made me think back. I don't think we had seen him sleep or rest the entire movie until that moment where he finally closed his eyes in his mother's arms.
The closest we got was him playing dead.
Yes, honestly. So that touched me. And I was also like, my God, I cannot imagine being in that scenario. And I feel like he took me there at the end. Like, these children were children when we saw them in the internment camps. Now they are damaged children. The minute they have to encounter their parents.
Also, the simple
their life
way
is different now.
The simple way they pass the time by the water draining out of the pool.
Oh,
as well.
Shit. Yeah. Great. Yeah,
that's cool.
That whole that location.
That sequence was great. I like that too.
How about you? Anything, Jeff? You have any standout?
Well, and they didn't age the kids too, which is good in a way because you let the actors act. So it's like you felt the age. Yeah.
They're eating sweet potatoes for like one sweet potato a day for like fucking 4 years. Any other moments for you?
I mean, I think you've already. I still really, really was moved by him as the pirate chasing the plane, and then he just sees the full fleet of the Japanese just sitting there, and the fact that they didn't do anything, the fact that not a single person stopped him or caught him or anything, and then he just was able to like walk back / run back to his father, and of course it's Max, like The Sound of Music, right? Like his best friend, the father's like friend. I felt like that was really moving, and then a lot of sequences. I think in camp, not too many moved me too much, but we covered a lot of the ones that I thought. Dave,
nice.
Brandon.
Cool stuff. Yeah, you have any moments?
Other than the slap that I mentioned, I did like that. Like, in a
incredible. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't say a word. He goes, "What are you doing?" And then he goes, "What are you doing?" And she like bows and walks up to him and smacks the shit out of him. It doesn't say a fucking word, and then she goes and just takes the thing.
How many movies where there is that scenario between the help and the spoiled kid, where you never get that deliverance from you want,
Also, the performance,
one movie that gave it to you. I did appreciate that.
Also, she feels a little bad for him. You could tell it in the slap too, in her face. It's not like she was just like, "Fuck you, kid."
It's almost a punishment slap. Like,
you could tell it was kind of like, "Wake up, learn. What's wrong with you?"
I hate you slap.
No, it wasn't an "I hate you" slap.
There was a lot of that in there, though.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Anything else?
I would say just generally from about that point on, actually from the moment you pointed out, Dave, which was great, where they're going over the bridge, from that until solidly into the internment camp, I really did enjoy that part of the movie, probably the most. There was a lot of good moments in those scenes.
The whole fall of the occupation of Shanghai was... You guys should watch the first like 10 or 15 minutes of that making of, just to see them filming a lot of that stuff. It's remarkable what he was able to do with thousands and thousands of extras in Shanghai on location in those actual places. I mean, pretty fucking crazy. John, and he's like a kid in a candy store, of course. He's still Spielberg. He's smiling. He's yelling at everybody. They don't understand what he's saying.
Right.
He had a great time.
I'm sorry if Dave's about to answer, but John, filmmaker, you were both filmmakers, but can you imagine, you film Jaws, you film Close Encounters, and then 1941, and then you do but then you do Raiders and E.T., and it's like, they always say this, you're only as good as the last movie you did. You're only as good as the last race you did, the last game you did, whatever discipline you're in. After E.T., and he should have won the Oscar over Gandhi, whatever, that's like 10 the best. With Sugarland Express, that's like an incredible 10 years, right? We love Scorsese. There's all these amazing reference points. And what does he make? He makes another Indiana Jones, which he has to in 84. He doesn't do Poltergeist or The Goonies or all these other movies that he wants to make. He lets other people do them because he has to do this TV show. And then he has to do The Color Purple because he knows if he doesn't do it, nobody will. And it's a great book and everything. And he knows it needs to be made. And then it goes like 0 for 11 at the Oscars. And people are questioning his motives and intention and stuff. And then the next movie he does is this one. I mean, again, if you watch it from a Spielberg point of view, it's incredible. And you're talking, John, like, oh, he did this. He was risking a lot, you know, because if you have two 1941s in a row, if you have two, what is the movie called that we hate, 1989, that most people don't like? If you have two of those in a row, you know, you kind of blow your load a little bit. And I know he's producing out his wazoo, but it's like, why does he become the political filmmaker? What? I don't know if it's a
he's
risking a lot to do this movie.
A story he feels needs to be told.
I know, but there's always
a story
risk
element to it there.
But at some point, you have to sit there and go, "There's too much risk to this." You know, there's so much that I wanted. What if I wanted to talk about the Israel-Gaza war right now, and I was like, "I'm going to make a filmmaker." Somebody should say, "Whoa, bro! Before you do this, just know, like, this is risky." And he takes that risk on these back-to-back movies. That's huge.
All right, we've celebrated him before, but let's celebrate him again, even in what some people might call a failure. You know, this movie, it's not a gigantic success. I don't know if a capital F failure, but he is the same filmmaker who has said, I don't know how to work on a project if I'm not afraid of it. I don't know how to go to a set that day if I'm not afraid of what we're shooting that day. I need that risk and that challenge. You know, he's such a fucking savant and a prodigy. I don't think he's ever intimidated by what I was just talking about, like the craft of organizing all those extras and shooting that scene. He's looking for places where he can push himself. And I think, I'm not saying he wasn't afraid to make Jurassic Park. You know, like he had proved to himself.
He should have been, because they didn't have the technology to do it when he started doing it.
Like, I think even in the places where he was really comfortable, I think he wanted to push himself. Let's also acknowledge that he's a human being who is sensitive to judgment, and people like Pauline Kael and other critics often criticized him for not going deeper in his work. And I think The Color Purple. He's openly talked about with Schindler's List how he felt like he did want to tell a story that would really cause him to, you know, open his chest a little bit. I think sometimes he is intimidated, and probably in a fun way for him. Like, you're right, I should challenge myself emotionally. I should try to work on stuff that is more adult, if you will. So you don't just think that I'm only capable of this one thing. And I mean, God, if it does make me in a weird, I'm not saying this in like some weird competitive thing, like nobody is competing with him. But in a sense, it's always exciting to watch a filmmaker of his caliber not entirely succeed at something that was clearly a challenge for them, because it reminds you that, like, no one can just do what they're great at over and over and over again and be fulfilled or be entirely successful. You need to go like this. You need to find those challenges. And I don't know, I've got nothing but props for it. You couldn't be more right, dude. Color Purple, and this in between the Indiana Joneses. Like,
and actually, the Indiana Joneses and really E.T. and Schindler's List. You know, those are the bookends. You know, so you have that, and you got the Indiana Joneses, and you got him producing all those movies that we talked about, including the Back to the Futures. And then this is what he directed. This is what he decided to direct.
I think that's cool, dude, and I'm glad he took a chance. Like,
and you know his contemporaries.
Sorry,
you know his contemporaries are Coppola, De Palma, Scorsese. They're not commercial filmmakers. It's not like, you know, yes, James Cameron was huge and there's amazing and made good movies. Brian De Palma said this is I bet you Brian De Palma said this is fucking cool that you did this.
I really don't think we can say this enough, but like, those dudes are just fucking nerds who know each other that happen to make movies that millions of people saw. You know, like, they're still, at the end of the day,
I'm hoping LeBron James is trying to play basketball against the best basketball players in the country, the world. I'm hoping he's not just like, oh, you also play? Great. Like, I'm hoping he is. You know what I mean? I hope they all talk to each other.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're ignorant of the fact that, like, we're taking on this giant venture. It's a lot of money. People are counting on us. We have to pull these things off. They are commercial ventures, but they're also artistic ventures. And I think you have to kind of push yourself every now and then.
And Oliver Stone's making Vietnam movies by this point.
After making 3 fucking Indiana Jones, I'm not counting E.T. because I think that is an emotional piece for him. But the 3 Indiana Jones were just straight up adventure films, and I think he knew what they were. And he was working for his buddy Lucas. Right? He made. And
he probably said, "George, can you please direct one of these?" And George said, "No." And he said,
"Fuck you, Steve. You get in there.
Please direct one of these, please."
So if I was coming off of
don't touch the writing, but please.
If I was coming off of 3 fucking Indiana Jones movies that I'm sure were a blast to make, but they don't ask a lot of you. Remember that thing I always talk about? Nothing really happens to Indiana Jones in terms of emotion. It's adventure. It's craft. I think he wanted to go deep. He fucking made Color Purple in this. Like, good for him.
I mean, and also, if you really want to analyze it, Indiana Jones, he loses. Like, there's not a single thing he affects the outcome of that movie.
It doesn't stop.
He's literally just chasing them, and all that shit would have happened anyway if he wasn't there. Except that big bulky guy at the plane might have lived.
Indy
and the guy at the Disney Resort.
That giant British man.
Yeah, justice for bulky stuntmen.
Well, I can't make that Mad Mark reference.
Which scarred as children.
That's so funny.
That Mad Mark reference is going to haunt me if we are at 2 hours this episode. So I just want to ask one more question tonight. Is the 80s Steven Spielberg's best decade?
No, because one of my favorites is Ready Player One. So no,
that's really strange. So are you saying the 2000s are his best? The 90s?
Yeah, dude. Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan.
I mean, that is
John.
Yeah, that is like the generation we grew up in, but I prefer those movies over what he made in the 80s. So, but yes, he owns the 80s. Like, without
God damn it, it's so hard because 2 of my top 3 Spielbergs are in the 70s, and it's so hard because I don't know.
But I don't think Spielberg owned the 70s, right? Like, no.
No.
Coppola owned the 70s.
He put a decent dent in it.
Coppola probably owned the 70s.
He doesn't own it.
Coppola owns the 70s.
I know.
Spielberg owns the 80s, but my favorite Spielberg movies, I think, are in the 90s.
I gave you shit, Brandon, but mine are the 90s too.
Yeah.
Come on.
I do like the teens, and Fablemans is one of my favorites that he did. I really liked Fablemans. I like his later work a lot.
Guys, we're talking about
The Post.
We're talking about that film genius.
Yeah,
fucking prodigy.
For sure. You know what? We'll bring us out with this.
I just wanted to drop this tiny little detail because I thought it was so fucking cool.
Say it over the music.
I will.
Like Adrian Brody's 6-minute Oscar speech.
Half of the dogfights with the planes, those were models.
Yeah.
They made model planes. They were a third the size of actual planes. So whenever you didn't see them in background or foreground, this is before CGI, they were just in the sky. Those are fucking remote-controlled planes, dude.
That's cool.
It was really fucking awesome. And they timed explosions
one of those motherfuckers back together.
Yeah, how many microwaves would I break trying to glue those together, I wonder?
Cadillac of the sky.
All right. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us this episode. You're obviously going to stick around here for our final segment, What You've Been Watching, and picking our final movie. But we got to spin the wheel. Now is the time. So let's do it. Dave, you ready to spin the wheel?
I have my finger on the trigger.
That's okay. Let's get some guesses.
All right.
John, what year? Yeah, Brandon, John, what year do you think it's going to be?
1998.
Oh,
that would be
Shakespeare in Love year, right? Saved by Ryan.
Another Tom Stoppard.
Hey, he beat Steven Spielberg too, so that probably felt weird.
I'm trying to push this button.
I'm going to go 2010.
I'm still going with 2017. I feel like a new one's coming recently. All right, Dave, shoot it up. I got to fucking pee again. 1, 9, 5. John, you're so happy. How happy is John?
Oh, we're going back.
1954.
We have been spending a lot of time at the upper end, so I guess we're due.
It's time to go black and white.
We are due. And you know what's great about 1954? Not a lot of movies to choose from, so we're going to choose quick. Can't wait. All right, so 1954, we're going to choose that movie at the end of the episode. Well, we got to get into what you've been watching. We like to start with Dave. Brandon, keep a close eye on what you've been watching, or at least try to get it fresh in your brain here, because I know you watched a lot of good shit. Last time we saw you, we watched a lot of good shit. So, Dave, let's start with you. What you been watching this week? And I got to pee because I'm going last, so fuck it. Go.
Yeah, okay, cool. I watched Flow, ironically.
It's so fucking good.
It absolutely deserved that fucking Oscar. It's amazing.
Over Inside Out 2, which had $1 billion budget. Come on.
Also, it was made with like the Blender 3D modeling software, which is fucking open source and free. Like these guys just got open source software and made it and kicked Pixar's ass. Like, respect, dude. The animation. The animation looks fantastic, but the story is absolutely, and it's sitting down with
when
the kids.
When it comes to the arts, I'm a socialist. I'm a socialist
method of storytelling
with the arts. Come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's all just.
But beautiful. It's a great thing to sit and watch with the kids. Then I also watched Heretic,
Nice.
which I did really enjoy, and he's definitely playing that to a T. Yeah.
Yeah, right. He fucking nails it.
And I was kind of like, which way are they going to take this? Are they going to take it this way? And I was wrong on all counts. So
how excited were you when it got to the part where he says, but don't go down there if you're not ready to understand.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's like, open the fucking door! And I saw some of Venora.
Some?
Is that a rewatch or
some?
First time?
No, that was the first time, and
because you didn't like it.
Fuck! I hope it gets better.
Oh, David.
Yeah,
Dave. How far did you make it? You don't have to spoil anything, but
I'm just past the wedding.
Wow, I
get why it was so popular. Like that's almost an hour in, guys.
That's so great.
And I get why it was so popular because, like, yes, they're putting on fantastic performances, but like the movie needs about 90% less fucking, and I can't believe I've ever said that of a movie.
Really? You weren't laughing?
Like
you weren't entertained?
After a while, it just becomes comical. It's like you lose the story.
That's the point.
It's funny.
Yeah. I think that's the point. It's
and also, funny. I hate her as a character.
All right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So I'm going to finish it, but I'm not enjoying it.
Dave.
Fucking
but
Dave.
Flow was awesome. Highly recommend Flow.
Flow's so good. It's on Max.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right, the Says. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go ahead and lead with the thing I was going to mention before. It's been a little bit, but I'll include it in my what you've been watching since we're doing 1987. I watched Moonstruck, and loved it. I absolutely loved it. Thought
should Cher have won the Oscar over?
I'm not gonna lie, I was really impressed with her. I then watched is it Mermaids? The one she did with Winona Ryder.
Maybe that's
like
right.
Shortly after.
Yeah,
I think she's a really good actress.
She's good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Nick was great, of course.
Yeah,
so young.
He's good in that.
Eyebrows were so thick.
Mermaids with Bob Hoskins. Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah,
Bob Hoskins. That was really great. I enjoyed that a lot. I went and saw The Monkey a couple weeks ago, and I'm not gonna lie, I had no intention of watching this movie. I hated the trailer. I did not like it at all.
Matt and Mark liked it,
but I heard Matt and Mark recommend it, so I went and watched it, and I had a blast. It's really funny, and I was very, very pleased with my experience. So thank you, Matt. I've been on a huge Woody Allen kick recently. So I watched a bunch of them, but I'll just call out the ones I did most recently, which were Annie Hall and Manhattan. I'd seen Annie Hall before, had a fantastic rewatch, had not seen Manhattan. That was awesome. And the last one I'll shout out is I've been watching the Ken Burns documentary on the national parks. I'm on the 6th episode now. It's fantastic. Solid gold. That guy doesn't miss. It's incredible.
Nice.
Do you guys know that our national parks budget is like a couple million, and a couple billion, and then it actually has like a 55-to-1 like ratio of how much it actually takes in. So we actually make it's actually like an incredible investment, the national parks, because so many people go visit the national parks and then invest in the national parks. So anyway, long story short is no wonder he bankrupted a million casinos, you know?
Yep. I love the National Park Rangers protests. Have you seen any of their pictures or videos where they're all protesting in their hats and shit? It's hilarious.
Have you seen that all national parks now have a TikTok feed, and they've divided up into 2 teams, and they're just bagging the shit out of each other?
They fired off.
That's
no, I haven't because I don't follow TikTok, but I believe it.
Yeah. It's fun. Except one of them got a bit serious. Yeah.
Well, sure, they have to every now and then. All I watched, because I have been watching Drive to Survive this past week and haven't really been able to watch any fun fiction.
Drive to Survive was pretty good this season, but it was just, you can't stop watching it. You just can't stop watching it.
And Jeff, don't forget, I don't follow the seasons. So I'm enjoying it more than you do.
So what did you... Okay, you know? Great.
I think it's still fun to watch, but I do agree with you. I had more fun the first 1 to 3 seasons.
Yeah, the Daniel Ricardo, the first thing.
I'm still loving it. It's still fun. We have a good time watching it. What I did finish, though, and I finished it last week, we took 2 weeks off, was that show, The Eastern Gate, about the Polish female spy. Remember me telling you guys that?
Yeah.
God, it's good. You guys got to watch it. I know you didn't listen to me last time, but this is my second show.
I'm still trying to get through all the other stuff that's finishing at the moment.
I listen every week. I just forget and have to re-listen every week.
Tokyo Vice, Eastern Gate. Those are now my 2 recs that I think nobody else has watched except for me. But I really enjoyed it. Anyway, how about you, Jeff?
I was on a plane. I had a spring break that I took advantage of for sure. So apart from Drive to Survive, which I really liked, and I watched those 2 John Hughes that I mentioned earlier. I was at a bar that was closing in my neighborhood, and they had 16 Candles and Breakfast Club back to back. And I was like, sorry, Angela, I'm watching these for the rest of the night. They're so good. Just to refresh. They're so good. But
there's not even any sound on it. It's just projected on the wall. And you're just watching.
A new movie I'd never seen. So I was on the plane though, and I really wanted to watch Sing Sing and Conclave, but I ended up only being able to have time for Conclave, and I loved Conclave. I really loved it. The ending wasn't as like I thought. I think. Do you think twist is the wrong word? Do you think now twist has become the new like based on a true story?
Dude, everything you're about to say, we've already talked about. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I don't know if these are twists, but because I was told there are twists coming, I was watching it going, I'm suspicious of you. Are you the twist? I'm suspicious of you. I was just suspicious the whole time. And I wish twist wasn't the word. I will say it did keep me engaged because I was like, I'm suspicious. So there's a twist coming. Maybe it's you. But I just think that maybe revelation, which is the whole, of course, there's revelations and stuff. Because as far as like the twist, I'm like I like the twist or didn't like the twist because that doesn't even make sense to me having seen this movie. And it doesn't even make sense. Like, what do you think about the revelations? That's not the point. The movie beginning to end was so interesting and so well done and captivating. So kudos to Conclave.
How fucking good is that cinematography, dude?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I would nudge Angela. We're on the plane. We're on a plane. I'm nudging Angela. I'm like elbowing her. I'm like, watch this shot. Look at all these fucking cardinals with their umbrellas walking over the fountain. Beautiful. I'm like, I'm like elbowing her half the movie, just being like, look at this shot.
Sequence with the turtle. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's
really mature.
So next time you guys fly and you realize she's booked separate seats, that's why.
All right, let's go ahead and wind this thing down. We're going to tell you what 1954 movie we're going to be talking about at the end of in 2 seconds. Listen to some Dasein. Brandon, this is your music that's being played right now.
What are you talking about?
Let's go.
Get back on the clock,
baby. And we're back.
And we're back.
Thank God I cut that just before that.
We've done so many Hitchcocks. We've done Psycho. We've done Vertigo.
We've done so many cocks.
Rear Window. We've done North by Northwest. Did we do Vertigo? We did. It doesn't fucking matter. We're doing Dial M for Murder, 1954. Our special guest and artist in residence and sponsor, Dasein, is here and approves. Dasein, is there anything you want to say about this film that we chose?
I think it's a great choice. It's one of the handful of classic Hitchcocks that I've not seen, so I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And if John is still in your hotel room next week, by the way, the light has gotten so much darker since we started recording this episode. It's so great. No, there's a full-on Dasein head on the sheets behind you. Everybody, we have a YouTube. You got to see it. It's so great. Dial M for Murder. This is suspicious as fuck, this apartment right now that you're in. Can't wait to talk about it next week. Dave, anything you want to say?
Nope, I'm scared.
See you next week, film fans.
Watch Empire of the Sun.